Okay, so imagine this. You're me staring into the soul of my phone while scrolling TikTok and you see whatever this is. Yeah, it looks sick as hell, doesn't it? Well, you would be completely fucking right. It caught my attention and I went to look some stuff up about the game and saw that this was footage of the demo. Look a bit further and I see that the demo is on Steam for free. I gotta try this shit. I download it in like 30 seconds and just boot the game up. Right away, we are met with an epilepsy warning, so for those of you who need it, there you go. But anyway, it's followed up by this amazing cutscene that I really just want to show fully. Past that intro, we finally get to the menu and get a small glimpse of the gameplay style, and we can see that it has a main story, which I honestly didn't expect after seeing a few videos of the game, and it also has mind select, which doesn't tell us much yet, but it will soon, as they do an amazing job at setting up the world, story, and main gameplay in this very short demo. It serves as a tutorial slash chapter 1 to the game, and it fills that purpose perfectly. Let's start off with the story mode shortly. Well, not shortly at all, actually. Anyway, we start off and get a pretty lengthy cutscene that tells us quite a bit, actually. I didn't mention it, but the ticket we were shown in the intro cutscene is a platinum ticket from the Mindscape company. This is basically just Willy Wonka's golden ticket and therefore an invite to not a factory, but rather a competition in this case. Also, small detail, but these numbers on the ticket are actually our character's ID number. That's just cool. But while we're talking about her, her name is Pandora. She's really not cool with the Mindscape company and doesn't really want to be there. But it would be stupid to not give a try at winning the insane prize money, which we aren't told the amount of. The other things we are told is that we are in Blackout City. In it is obviously this Mindscape company and the product they got big over. Mindwave. What is Mindwave, you might ask, besides the game that I'm currently playing? Well, it isn't an exact answer, but we do get told about it in such a masterful way, honestly. The best way I can describe it is that it is an in-universe game, which we will play in this demo. The only other things we are told about this big bad evil corpo scum are through conversations with other characters, and yet it manages to make it really obvious what is happening, and the conversations still feel pretty real. No better way to describe them except just saying that they're really real. Really? I know, I'll stop. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. We get the ticket to the annual Mindwave tournament with hundreds of contestants, and obviously we attend. On the way there, we meet our first character besides Pandora that actually has a design, and that means they're important. Don't know their name though. They tell us to move and that it's our turn, so we approach this machine and it gives us some classic terms and conditions which we skip, don't care. Then it asks us to insert our platinum ticket and, just like Cyberpunk, jack in. This isn't even a joke, we do just jack into this machine using our neural port, and it shows that Pandora was born on the 8th of April if you're European, or the 4th of August if you're American. I have no clue where the devs are from, so moving on. The year is just put as XX and the address is scribbles, and the ID number, as I previously mentioned, actually matches the one on our ticket, which tells us that it's near impossible to get in without winning a ticket. Surely. It also has a really small detail that literally says which vending machine, store, or whatever you won the ticket from, which is creepy, but anyway. Now we are in the tutorial. The tutorial teaches us how to play the game and explains all the control presets available. But before that, I should probably mention what the gameplay looks like. Yeah, it's a WarioWare style game having us play a whole truckload of different minigames with different control schemes, goals, and visuals of course. The tutorial has us play a single minigame with each control preset all within Pandora's mind to accompany the setting, alongside it being presented as a calibration process in this really cool scribbled and crumpled paper style that showcase her character quirks accordingly. But I'll gush about that a bit later once you actually understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, the first minigame has us use the mouse preset and circle Pandora, who is angrily running around. This preset only makes use of the mouse movements and left mouse button for now. It most likely will use the right mouse button in more complicated micro games, as the game calls them, but for now that's it. Oh, also forgot to mention, we are on a timer just like in the WarioWare series, which isn't visible until the last few seconds, just like you saw right here. The next minigame has us use the keyboard interface, and this minigame is a captcha entry. That is fucking it. All it requires us to do is input what we're shown. The keyboard interface in general though can make use of pretty much any key on it. That's why the next one we are shown is the spacebar minigame, which is just a Wild West duel. When you hear a sound cue and or see the visual cue, you just press spacebar to shoot. That interface is really simple to understand, honestly. The next one up, however, is ever so slightly more complicated, having us use the arrow keys, or if your keyboard doesn't have them because it's a 40% keyboard, the WASD keys can also be used. The minigame itself is just the green heart gimmick from Undyne's fight, so yeah, moving on. The next one teaches us that the presets can be combined and has us play with the arrow keys and spacebar and hunt down this devil mosquito thing on a roof that Pandora is also staring at, which is weird, but this entire fucking game is weird, so who cares. Next one up is the arrow keys and mouse combo. This one has us move through a 3D space to find a present with a book in it. We also have a map in the top right corner, with the blue being the present and the arrow is us, obviously. Under the map is also a very sweaty and nervous person, so that's cool, I guess. Either way, the calibration process is finally done. We instantly see that Pandora has a headache and the machine is now talking to us about the annual Mindwave tournament, to which Pandora says whatever. She walks into the lobby housing way too many fucking people, and we get a fucking Xenoblade-esque intro screen for floor 1. Once we enter the room, we are met with a loud, "Hey, Pandora!" We turn around and see Smalls, a new character to us but a familiar one to Pandora. We ask him how he got in here and did he have a ticket, to which he says, "No, I snuck in because security was super light," or something along those lines. The man's really just walked in through the back door. That's honestly it. He just wandered around until he found the room where everybody was. Pandora says that either way she's glad to see him, but if they ask, they aren't associated, to which Smalls just says fair enough. But look, for real, it's good to have you here. Since we have a bit of time to kill until the first round starts, Smalls suggests chatting up some people because Mindwave is all about people's personalities, so it could come in handy to get a grip on as many as you can just in case you face off against them, quite literally to see what kind of brains, or minds, we are up against. Despite Pandora's eagerness just to not do any of that, we do have the option to chat some people up and are presented with another short tutorial that reads, "Welcome to the lobby. Here Pandora and Smalls can pass the time by chatting with their fellow contestants before the next rounds of the tournament begin. To look around, move your mouse to the edges of the screen or use WASD/the arrow keys. Use the spacebar to open the submenu. You can click on Smalls to talk with him, and you can click on Pandora to skip the lobby and start the next round of the tournament. The first round will begin shortly. If you need to reread anything, you can press tab to pull up the log." Now that all of that has been said, we can finally move on to the actual dialogue section of this game. Important thing to mention about this dialogue section is that you can't talk to more than 1 or 2 opponents in here, so it's pretty cool that it does have an actual sense of urgency for scraping any information about them that can actually help us out, even if it doesn't translate to that much information about the gameplay. It mostly tells us the theme of the upcoming opponent, and I think that's cool enough in itself because I don't think getting a microgame preview would accomplish that much in helping us win. Either way, since the game has become my new hyperfixation, I will be going over pretty much every single conversation, but just a bit more broadly, since there's no point in telling you shit line by line. So it's gonna be quite a bit more generalized. Starting off with our friend Smalls. We can have an additional chat with him and talk about the Mindscape company and how transparently evil they are. The evil ass looking building and just general evilness. The important thing is to take their cash and that it would be stupid not to attend the tournament. This is actually something that comes up a fair bit, so I guess there's some unfinished lore for now. We can also ask him how and why he snuck in, and he just says he did sneak in and the reason is because he was worried about our main character Pandora. She threw up after playing the game last time, so Smalls was a bit worried. He does admit that if she felt bad he couldn't really do anything besides let her complain to him, but that's pretty much it for him, and we still have a choice of 5, technically 6 characters to chat up, and what better place to start off than with the character that this entire demo revolves around, Abby. Pandora really doesn't want to talk to her because, well, I mean, look at them side by side. It's obvious enough already she's instantly really hyper and likes Pandora's fit and thinks the entire building is so cool and has so many people and so much fucking talking. First, she tells us that she's actually in her pajamas because she didn't get her costume ready in time, hinting at a microgame cough cough, and we learn that she sucks at Mindwave, which makes sense because she is the first opponent of the game after all. Then she says quite a bit about her plushies. And her teddy's named Tommy, so that's cool. We also continuously keep learning that she doesn't have very supportive parents, which isn't that well represented in the minigames, but should still be mentioned. We'll learn just a bit more from her, like the fact that she doesn't play very often and is from northern, Jesus, fuck, am I retarded? And is from northern, I give up, whatever, blackout, and that she moved here a month ago. She also feels a bit homesick, and she calls Pandora Panda. Also, if we worked through a certain pattern of conversation with her, we will give Abby our numbers, and she will hug us at the end like the cute son of a gun that she is. That's actually pretty much it for Abby. She is the cutest piece of work in this game and the focal point of the demo, as spoiler alert, she is our first opponent. But moving on from her, we still have a lot of characters to go over. So next up is Alex. Well, not next up, but she is the next one that I have chosen arbitrarily. By far the least fleshed out character, and all she wants is to not be bothered, but she does introduce herself. That's it for her, so let's move on to one of the most likely to be contestants, Roxy. Before we even talk to her, Smalls has some info. Apparently she's on her school's Mindwave varsity team. Okay, so the devs might be American in fact. Anyway, he thinks that we can get some pointers for Mindwave and she does everything but that. I mean, we do get a few things out of her, like the fact that our gang school is lame and doesn't have a Mindwave team, but besides that, Pandora asks about the headaches which she frequently experiences, which Roxy has no clue about, but she does provide more insight in how Mindwave works exactly. Also, just a not so fun side note, sounds a lot like tripping balls, but yeah, overexertion to Mindwave can be harmful, but it can also take some time to adapt, making the middle ground a somewhat requirement if you want to play it. We're also told that a lot of pro players like her have a lot of long-term side effects. It really messes with their sense of self and they can't really differentiate their memories from the main training partner's memories and emotions. Roxy also says she's had small issues in the past, but she's alright now. Granted, she just compartmentalized the false memories, which can't be good for you surely, but it works for her. Besides that, she just talks about sporting mindset for a bit, and that's about it for her. Next up is a duo of fuckers, Slate and Cat. I mean Ethan and Cat. Half of this conversation is about the dude in cosplay, Ethan. He's cosplaying as Slate from Fortress of Sorrow, and that's actually why Pandora approached him. Fortress of Sorrow is an in-universe like series or anime thing. Forgot to mention that, so yeah. Anyway, Pandora approached him to tell him that his cosplay is cool. They nerd out a bit, all while Kat just shits on Ethan about being a nerd, which is kind of funny, I wouldn't even fucking lie. He also says that if he were to win the money, he would most likely spend it on bullshit, which can't blame him either, honestly. I'd do the exact same fucking thing. We actually get a fucking shit ton of dialogue from these two, so I'll try and shorten it a bit. Ethan is sort of a loser and a TV show fanatic. He mostly hangs around Kat and her grandparents and rambles about meaningless crud to old people and listens to their meaningless crud as well. Which, honestly, it's pretty cute but still really fucking lame. Kat, on the other hand, is an abstract artist who doesn't really want to admit that. They met in grade school and just kinda stuck together ever since. Kat got really lucky and got tickets for both of them, so they attended because it would be really stupid to miss this. A repeating theme. They also talk about not wanting the Mindscape company to scan their brains, so they were avoiding playing. This includes Pandora and Kat mostly, but Ethan reassures them that he read the EULA, and they don't do that, so Kat and him have played every single week since then. We do learn a little bit of info on their minds as well, and this one could actually be pretty useful. Kat's mind is supposedly really trippy the first time, and Ethan's is pretty simple and empty. It's so fucking funny, man. Anyway, that's more or less everything about them, which leaves two. Next one up is the person we got told to hurry up by at the entrance a little bit ago. Their name is suspiciously enough not revealed to us yet, so I'll let you make your mind up about them. The whole conversation is pretty awkward and is pretty much a back and forth talking about who made the conversation more awkward. They also dropped the meanest comment on Pandora saying that she looks like she's trying to cosplay the tower. She also wears a cross but isn't really religious and just entered the contest like anybody else because of that sweet cash prize. Her parents were against it because Mindscape is a devil company or something like that. Repeated once again. And yeah, that's it. The last one up is Mixmaster D. Yeah, that's cringe. I'm just never gonna say that again. It's Dom. Right off the bat, he is the music-focused character, and he shows us his new song before even introducing himself. After that, Pandora nags him a bit about how if anyone other than them was approached like that, they would probably flip the fuck out. Small just said it's a good marketing strategy, and besides that, Dom tells us that he won his ticket in a pharmacy, which is weird, and they probably begin to say the exact same thing and joke about an old geriatric dude that went to buy his arthritis meds getting a ticket. They also talk a bit about how Smalls and Pandora are a musical duo and make a plan with him to play illegally. Of course, legality is bullshit, nobody should do that. Legal bullshit is boring. Fuck you. They plan to play at the Mindscape Tower once it is all over. We also find out that Pandora and Smalls have no notoriety because they change their band name each time they perform because Pandora thinks it's hilarious. Which, yeah, I wouldn't use the word hilarious, but it is fucking stupid. Then they exchange numbers and phew. Finally, all of the fucking chatter is done and we can move on to the actual gameplay. I think it's a bit pointless to explain every single minigame or microgame there is, or whatever the fuck they call them, since there are way too many, and I feel like it would be just really repetitive and boring, I only explain the ones in the tutorial as an example of what's to come. So finally, it's time for my yap session about everything in the game as per usual. This game is exactly a game I have always wanted. Granted, I wanted to make a game with a similar premise and almost identical gameplay, but I'm just happy that someone made it, since I suck at making anything of the sort. Anyway, this game fucking rules because of that. It was kind of a long time wish for me to have more WarioWare style games, but just like with a bit more depth. And I think this game perfectly provides that depth, both in its story, characters, and world, and especially in its design. This game fucking rules, albeit a few minor flaws so far. So let me get the flaws out of the way first, because there is way less of them than my endless glazing for this game. The few minor issues I have is that it is a bit text heavy. There's a lot of conversations pretty much making up like 75% of the demo, and while this isn't an issue that will span the entire game, at least I think so, I do think it hindered the demo a little bit because there's realistically only about 20 minutes of gameplay and like 2 hours of talking. But that lack of gameplay the game makes up for in replayability and the mind select side option. Once you beat each contestant, you will unlock their full mind. That sounds so fucking weird to say, but basically it is just an infinite mode where you can play it endlessly, and it actually does have quite a bit to it. The minigames start off normally, just shuffling about for quite a bit honestly, but once you make it past a certain threshold, you will start getting ads, which you saw shortly in the gameplay section. A lot of other things are able to happen here, well, not a lot, but 3. But they make it so much more interesting because they can just mix and match. The 3 different things that can happen is the random ads that I previously mentioned, our screen can get flipped upside down, and the game can play in double speed and chain minigames back to back to throw you off. Also important to note, the screen flip is like if you rotated your monitor by 180 degrees. So yeah, left and right are kind of flipped, visually at least. That's all the gimmicks that can apply so far, but just think about what happens when they all combine for a second. It gets a bit crazy, especially considering that every few minigames everything speeds up. It gets quite insane. Anyway, we also get a few extra minigames for Pandora's Mind, which we can also select in the endless mode, and they once again give us a bit more insight into the brains of our main cast here. Pandora's being all broody and edgy is really apparent through her minigames, and all of them are really detailed and really fucking well made. Same goes for Abby, or Starlight as the game calls her. Everything in the minigames depicts her character very well, and we even get a lot of insight from the chats we had with her depicting her sewing her teddy back up in one of them, as well as the cosplay she was talking about. Here's another small gripe I have with the game so far. I know that this is insanely hard to implement, but I would love that the conversations with the other contestants gave us a bit more information about the precise gimmicks that would be used. But I also fully understand that revealing too much could make it really boring, so yeah, it's not that much of an issue since I trust the devs tried out a lot of stuff before they landed on what they have right now. At most, I would like maybe that if you exhaust the dialogue options, you get like an additional life or something. Just a little bonus for actually interacting with the game world would make it feel that much cooler to me. At the end of the day, a dumbass like me doesn't really have any authority or experience in making or testing games, so yeah, I'm just leaving that in their hands. It really does do its job effectively, letting us know a bit about the contestants without revealing too much about them. This also adds to the cool factor to me because as you play through the mines, you get a good understanding of the characters, which enhances the plot by quite a bit, as Roxy told us about people becoming really tripped up by other people's memories if they play together for too long. The characters are also really unique, and you can for the most part already pinpoint what kinds of minds they will have, which is I think proof enough that they tried out multiple things of rewarding you for chatting them up. Another big thing that adds to the masterpiece demo that we got is the music and sound design. Firstly, although the sky is a fucking banger, perfectly mixing with this game's kind of futuristic, kind of nostalgic, kind of glitchy and jagged aesthetic. That was a lot of words. The minigames also make use of this song incredibly well because everything that is happening on screen will work side by side with the music. timed claps or sound effects when you do certain things in minigames. The speed ups and speed downs also apply dynamically, and what I mean by this is that they don't start at a fixed part of the song, but rather remix it live and speed it up at the part of the song which you would have been on during this short little animation. Speaking of animation, I have to at least shortly praise the art direction. Everything perfectly matches the vibe this game gives off, and it's really a case of just feeling the gameplay. And if you like it, I don't think it's cringe to say you vibed with it. The animations are really smooth while remaining jagged and scribbly to create a consistency in the art style. The minigames also switch styles often depending on what's happening, and you can even see what Abby, for example, looks like in a more standard art style in one of the minigames in the reflection of the glass here. Now, I think I've glazed this game enough. The final thing I have to say is that I'm incredibly happy that it met and smashed its Kickstarter goals, and I really hope that the minigames that the backers make will be at least well made. I don't really trust the backers to create good ones, honestly, so I hope they at least get like pushed or nudged in the correct direction, since it'll be really there were just like 5 horrendous minigames. Looking at the stretch goals as well, since it was all smashed, I can firmly say that I am looking forward to this game. Firstly, there will be 7 base game mines, 3 DLC mines, and a small B-side DLC with 4 more mines. Another post-game mine, and it most importantly will have online fucking 1v1 battles alongside in-game support to create custom mines and minigames via Steam Workshop. Absolute cinema. I'm incredibly happy to see what the devs can do with this game, and I'm even more hyped to see what a passionate community will be fostered and what maps and mods will come out of said community because of the tools that the devs will provide. All in all, it's just such a cool culmination of something that randomly came out with not that much hype around it, and it just immediately popped off, and honestly, it deserves it. With all that being said, play this game. Also, subscribe. Bye-bye.